Not too long ago, I did a video about games that fit into the aesthetic niche of Y2K. This video is a follow-up to that one. We'll be looking at games that fit into another popular aesthetic, Frutiger Aero. In my previous video, there were a few games that a lot of people, including myself, would consider Y2K, but admittingly, I did have some trouble classifying them into the more specific aesthetics. Mainly, I felt that I considered too many games Gen X Soft Club when they really weren't. This video will feature a lot more concrete examples of the aesthetic at hand, as it's a lot easier to spot and classify these games in this visual language. Similarly to the last video, it's all just for fun, and I am far from an expert on the subject. The only purpose of this video is for anyone who's wanting to play games in the Frutiger Aero aesthetic. Here are my personal suggestions. I'm not trying to argue or prove anything, this is all just my opinion as a shot as an available resource online to help people. With all of that out of the way, let's take a look at Frutiger Aero in video games. So before we jump into anything, I want to establish what Frutiger Aero is for anyone who's unfamiliar. Frutiger Aero is a design aesthetic popular from the mid-2000s to the early 2010s, characterized by its harmonization between technology, humanity, and the environment. It pictures a society where humans and technology live together to aid the planet and our civilizations. It's highly optimistic and utilizes greens and blues as color schemes. It also highlights bubbly reflective surfaces, and white and gray are the prominent shades as opposed to black. During the years of its relevance, a lot of user interfaces of technology utilized this design language. I mean, hell, Windows Vista is arguably the first ever thing that utilized Frutiger Aero. Again, it was popular from the mid-2000s to the early 2010s, following the Y2K era and sort of being a retaliation of the gritty, in-your-face attitude that Y2K carried with it. Frutiger Aero opted for, as mentioned earlier, a more optimistic feel, and again, pushed for a big human and technology relationship. The bright, friendly colors and rounded edges helped in this. I also want to mention that while Frutiger Aero does have its sub-aesthetics, Frutiger Aero can also be its own aesthetic, as a lot of the sub-aesthetics are just derivative of the core pillars mentioned before. For example, Dorfic takes those reflective surfaces and shades of white and gray, but changes those greens and blues out for orange. Now that we've established the aesthetic, let's take a look at how the aesthetic impacted video game consoles of the time. The biggest example of Frutiger Aero in gaming consoles is the Wii. The Wii took a bit of influence from TV channel guides, with every application being called a channel, but visually it is very Frutiger Aero. Some would say it is the Frutiger Aero console, as every aspect of the Wii, alongside a good amount of Nintendo's in-house games of the time, all follow the aesthetic to the book. The bubbly icons, the blue highlights complementing the white and gray UI, this is as Frutiger Aero as it gets. I should have also mentioned earlier that music plays a big part in selling the atmosphere of Frutiger Aero. Frutiger Aero music is either soft, calming pads and ambient sounds, or upbeat major key jams. The Wii has music that fits both of these categories right out of the box, with the main menu music fitting that ambient tone, the Wii Shop channel putting you in a good mood with its exciting beats, and even the Mi channel music fitting somewhere in the middle. The actual console itself, being a minimalist white with the blue light highlighting the disc slot, fits the aesthetic bill as well. I want to move on to the Xbox 360, and let's start off with the console itself. The original iteration was all white with gray accenting and a green indicator light. Fits the color rules perfectly. There was an all-black version called the 360 Elite, which is what I had growing up, and in later iterations like the Slim and E versions would stick to that all-black color scheme as they moved out of the Frutiger Aero design philosophy and more into the flat design aesthetic that began in the 2010s. The initial dashboard layout that the 360 launched with isn't too Frutiger Aero, but it is extremely prevalent in the dashboard's first revision, titled the New Xbox Experience. Reflective panels, lots of green. This menu fits the 360 so much better than the first one. This was eventually replaced with the Metro layout, which I don't hate at all, but it definitely lacks character when compared to the NXE layout or even the Blades layout. Unrelated to the Frutiger Aero conversation, but I loved that the Xbox 360 had customizable themes. I did a whole video about customization features on consoles of this era, and if that interests you, feel free to check that video out after this one. The Xbox 360 didn't have a main menu theme, but the Avatar creator absolutely did. It's actually the song you're hearing in the background right now. It's very soft and uplifting, and it's honestly one of my favorite pieces of video game music ever. But that's probably because I listened to it a lot as a kid, customizing my 90 avatars that I had stored up on my console before I knew that they were user profiles taking up space. Moving on to the final console I'll mention that had a Frutiger Aero theme to it, the PS3. The default background was ripped right from Windows Vista with this beautiful wave against a changeable soft color. The bubbly icons for menu options, folders, and those little buttons for installing games after downloading them, all fit into the aesthetic too. Another aside, but I think the XMB menu is great. It's easy to navigate in my opinion, and it looks extremely clean and unobtrusive against whatever background you have selected. The PS3 didn't have any background music, and with the way that the XMB menu worked, it was kind of just all one big menu, so there weren't any sub-menus that could have their own music, like the Wii Shop channel or the Avatar Creator. Also, honorable mention, I guess, to Windows Vista and Windows 7. They're not consoles, but I guess PCs can play games, and those two operating systems are as Frutiger Aero as it gets.
Need a new form of entertainment in your life? Join the thousands of others who have considered subscribing. Side effects may include joy, laughter, and newfound knowledge about video games. Talk to your doctor about if subscribing is right for you.
Don't miss new episodes of So What Happened To, Saturday mornings on RatedEm.
Now let's jump into some games that have the Frutiger Aero aesthetic. As mentioned, a lot of in-house Nintendo games around this time fit into the aesthetic. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are both notable examples, featuring a good amount of lush nature environments, mechanical areas, and in some cases a mix of both. The blue backgrounds and heavy use of green in those aforementioned nature environments are hard to miss. Galaxy 2 is a bit brighter than the first game, but the original game does a pretty great job at combining the tech and futuristic elements with the nature elements across the whole game. Mario Kart Wii is another great example that achieves pretty much the same thing. You've got stages like Toad's Factory and Coconut Mall alongside Moo Moo Meadows and Mushroom Gorge. There's a wide variety of colors, they're all very soft on the eyes, even the darker shades of gray aren't that dark. This could just come down to the lighting of the game, like it literally just could be a byproduct of the graphics being the way they are and not an inherent design choice. Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, and Wii Fit all followed a similar aesthetic that the Wii's UI had. Wii Sports is the most similar looking, most likely because it was bundled with the Wii console, so they likely wanted it to look seamless and connected. Wii Sports Resort features a lot of recurring elements of the Wii's overall UI look, but ditches the big boxes to reveal more of the background, which does have a lot of blue and some green. Wii Fit looks similar to Wii Sports, but ditches the promotion of blue colors for lots of green. Wii Sports, and especially Wii Fit, are considered into a subcategory of Frutiger Aero called Techno-Zen, which is said to be Frutiger Aero with a Japanese minimalist influence. However, searching up Techno-Zen just shows it to be Dorfic but green, but then at what point does it become Frutiger Eco, because that aesthetic has a really big prioritization of green over blue? It's all a little confusing. I don't mean to invalidate Techno-Zen, because I do think that Doko Demo Isio, Brain Age, Tomodachi Life, all those games fit into that Frutiger Aero with Japanese minimalism influence description. But I think Wii Fit is just Frutiger Aero and not Techno-Zen. Same with Wii Sports. Spore is very Frutiger Aero with its rounded shapes for both the creature part designs and the UI, and if you were to pick a planet with blue and green colors, you're just making your experience that much better. The civilization stage and the space stage are where it can really immerse itself in that aesthetic. You can make a ton of white glossy buildings and shit. And again, the UI is glossy and rounded and features lots of blue shades. One game that is heavily considered Frutiger Aero is Mirror's Edge, and I will 100% agree. This is as Frutiger Aero as it gets, but I do actually have a question for any aesthetic maniacs out there. I know that Dorfic is pretty much limited to orange and white, but like, a lot of environments in Mirror's Edge are white and green, or white and blue, or white and red. Do these also count as Dorfic? Because it is just one color and a shade, very much like Dorfic, but they're obviously not orange. I don't know, it's a question I've had for a while. Regardless, if you're looking to see some Frutiger Aero interiors, play Mirror's Edge. Also, if you're going to play it on mouse and keyboard. It is an entirely different game compared to playing it on controller. I also want to make a quick honorable mention to the 3DS eShop, as that 100% had a Dorfic design. Like, this is as orange as it gets. I know that the Switch eShop is very similar and is also white and orange, but the 3DS one just has a bit more of an orange influence, and I just like the look of it better. It's got a lot more character. The Switch eShop is just way too basic and plain for me. I want to shift to another popular sub-aesthetic of Frutiger Aero called Frutiger Metro. Frutiger Metro features a lot of vector-based designs, silhouettes, and promotes a more communal, human feeling. It's driven heavily by music and urban cultures, and utilizes a good variety of highly saturated colors, various patterns, and retains the rounded shapes from the larger Frutiger Aero aesthetic. Deep Lob is a mix of Aero and Metro. Its cartoon art style and emphasis on bright colors promotes that Metro aesthetic, but the glossy, rounded 3D is very Aero. What I would consider to be the Frutiger Metro game is Little Big Planet. It incorporates 3D and 2D objects and visuals, but lacks a lot of the gloss that Aero is known for, keeping its distance from that aesthetic. Little Big Planet is also entirely made up of like household arts and crafts materials, really pushing that down-to-earth human element. It doesn't have too many bright colors because of its use of things like cardboard and strings and screws, but the realistic look of it sells the aforementioned human element a lot better. Finally, I'll give an honorable mention to Frutiger Aero Hub on Roblox. It's kind of just like a hangout game, but there's multiple Frutiger Aero environments to explore, both interiors and exteriors. It's actually really cool. So that was an exploration of Frutiger Aero in video games. If you haven't seen my Y2K in games video, definitely go check it out. And don't forget to check out consoles and customization if it interests you. I may have a third video in this aesthetic series on the way, but honestly, it requires me obtaining a bunch of games that I currently don't own, and honestly, it might not even be that interesting of a watch, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not. Sorry to end this episode on a bad note, but that's just how the industry is, kid.